Regardless of where you live on this planet, no matter what your nationality, the fact that the indefinite detention provisions of the NDAA are still on the books should disturb you on a fundamental level. If not, give it 3 minutes. The National Defense Authorization Act, which was passed in 2012 and extended in 2013 and 2014, authorizes the U.S. military to arrest anyone anywhere on the planet, to deny them access to a lawyer, and to detain them indefinitely without a trial. Furthermore, the U.S. government claims the right to do all of this in secret. No one would know where you went. You would just disappear.
All right, double honors to the elders of GMS and honors to you brothers will be pushing out, this truth and sincerity, and all praises to our White House, for bringing this, having mercy on us, having this truth and bringing this truth out. And like you just heard, man, right? The U.S. The so-called U.S. government, right, which is on the precipice of being destroyed, pursuant to Amos, the 9th chapter and the 8th verse, and pursuant to Revelations, the 18th chapter, and so on and so forth. There's numerous amounts of scriptures out there showing you that this kingdom is going to be destroyed, right? It's going, this man's basically put it in his legislation, the so-called U.S. government, that they can go into these different countries, right, and basically claim to take over anyone, not to take over anyone. My apologies. Basically, they've basically put it in their legislation that they could take anyone they want from any country, right, and arrest them indefinitely, right, and without you being seen, right. Right, as in, it's never going to be publicly. They ain't gonna say, "Oh, this, that, and the third has been has been arrested," right? They ain't gonna and they ain't gonna let you free, and they ain't gonna give you the right to a lawyer, right? Pursuant to the NDAA legislation, man. Right, so this man is, like the scripture says, is coming down with his great wrath because he knows they have about a short time. Now I'm just gonna read a little bit of it, and you can find this out. Sorry, that's my hand over the camera. You can find this out on your Google, right? And I'm just gonna read the first bit of it, and it says, this is I found this online, and it says basically why the I don't know if you can see it, why the NDAA bill is more dangerous than you ever thought, and it reads: the National Defense Authorization Act of 2013 passed the Senate with a 98-0 vote, so it's popular amongst us Edomites, man, right? And it says the NDAA is a huge federal law, right? Among the other things, it specifies the budget and expenditure for the Government of Defense, right? The authorization bill determines the agencies responsible for defense, establishes funding levels, and sets policies under which money will be spent. The policies are defined under Authorization Act, include salary, and benefit guidelines of all service members, including healthcare, plus foreign policy items like the economic sanctions against Iran, right? And, Iran plays a big part in the destruction of America, right? Because that's pursuant to Second Ezra round about the Second Ezra 15th chapter, round about the 14th verse, right? And it says, embassy security options for establishing a no-fly zone over civil war plagued Syria. Right now, this is where it gets a little bit meaty, I think. It says, and the NDAA is a wide-ranging bill, right? And it says that has many controversial sections, right? And this is controversial sections that go back to the Project Megiddo, right, where it talks about those detention camps. Right, and it also goes back, in the scriptures, it tells us about those detention camps, and man's being, having to basically having to be in prison for this truth's sake, man. Right, if he's gonna, if the Most High sees you fit that you're gonna be tested in that manner, you're gonna pray and fast that the Most High delivers you for whatever he puts a man through. When it says, for example, one section of the act allows governors to request assistance of military reservists to act as first responders in an event of a hurricane, earthquake, flood, right? Terrorist attack and other disasters. So basically, the NAA, the NDAA, right, which is a point. Not really, that's related to another topic, but that's, they could, put all kind of false flag, right, and have it to where the only people that, the first react, the first people to react to whatever disaster it is, whether it be a hurricane or whatever, right? But more to the point, a terrorist attack, right, of which the only real terrorist is the so-called white man. He's the one that creates, false flags, all of this kind of thing, right? He has it to where the military is going to be the ones that are the first responders to that. Right? It says, and one service doesn't appear too controversial until you think about the subjective definition of terrorist attack, right? And it says the NDAA is also an example of where a budget needs to be temporarily divorced from policy, right? And no executive worth his MBA would suggest such an action. There is some meat for you, right? And it says, but there are many of the other policies issues contained in the NDAA, right, that need further debate and discussion without impacting the DoD budget. Sorry, the screen's gone off. It's gone to sleep. It's going to come back, right? It says, and the subsequent appropriation bill. Right, given the urgent need to marry the national security responsible, right, fiscal policy, we need to slow down this process, right, so we can fully vet the most controversial elements of the far-reaching bill, right. So near the most important thing to take away from this second paragraph is the fact that in a state of a natural disaster, in a state of a so-called terrorist attack, of which we know this man is, he's the one that brought down the twin towers and all of that, right? In any case like that, man, right? They've had it to where they're gonna come out with this with their military, man. They're gonna come out with their military, and pretty much they're gonna be putting you Jakes really coming for the men of the Lord, the real men of the Lord, not Nate and all of their madness, calling us calling to a pro and all of that, man. Mans ain't made no allegiance with the so-called white man. We ain't made no allegiance with them, man. Right? And you're the ones that made allegiance with it. How are we the ones serving not serving rather, but selling that, right? Which goes to show you that Nate and all of these other different camps is desperate for anything that for anything that they think that that's gonna make the truth less valid, man. But the fact of the matter is, you're the camps that are pushing this for this world, man. Right? We're pushing for the destruction of this kingdom, man. We ain't worried about no marriages and we're so into this thing, man. We don't really even care about what a man is dealing with in terms of his women. As long as you ain't committing adultery, so the fuck what, man? You're supposed to be sleeping and dreaming this bloody truth, man. That's what is important right now, man. Not what bloody whether your garments is all spick and span, and whether a man is sleeping with a so-called white woman or so-called black woman. Man, that time's gonna come in the kingdom. But right now, it's just time for this truth to be pushed, right? And you can clearly see who the Spirit of the Lord is dealing with, man. Right? It's the same men of which I've learned under that bring truth like this out. Right, showing you that this man is going to come down to the Almighty, right? And not these guys that are talking about how you should treat your woman in the society and all of that, man, and how you should, how to improve your marriage and so on and so forth, man. And of which really a marriage, if you make a marriage in this society, right, really you're doing what the scripture, you're going against the law of the scriptures where it talks about making a covenant with the heathen. Right, because a certain section of that marriage certificate dictates dictates right that the government's involved within that marriage, in the sense that the government is a third party in that marriage. So it technically is a what's the word I'm looking for? A covenant with the heathen, man. right? And really, the scripture, when you read the scriptures, you understand when a man, sleeps with a woman, that's his wife, that's his concubine, or whatever, man. Right? Now let's go to the following paragraph, and I'm gonna cut it off on that. Right now, this is the last one, and there's gonna be some key points in there, right? That's that leads to and ties in with the scripture. And it says the indefinite detention clause, right? Now the indefinite, so right? It's in, you can see it, you can see it in black and white, man. In any country, they can go into any country, right? Detain anyone indefinitely, right? In any different country, man, right? It says the indefinite detention clause, right? The NDAA has become the most controversial element of of President Obama's foreign policy, right? It says Section 1021 of the NDAA bill of 2012 allowed for the indefinite detention of American citizens without due process, right, at the discretion of the president. Right, Section 1021 has been challenged as a violation of the constitutional principles of and the United States Bill of Rights. Right, because they claim the Bill of Rights and freedom of speech and all of that kind of all of that. Right, but at the end of the day, they make their own tongue to fall upon themselves, which they don't even uphold their own statutes and all of that. Right. It says the indefinite detention clause has been broadly denounced nationally and internationally, and it may very well be the only thing that true bipartisan support. The act strongly opposed by the ACLU, Amnesty International, Human Rights First, Human Rights Watch, and the Center of Constitutional Rights, and the Cato Institute, Reason Magazine, and the Council of the American Islamic Relations. It was characterized in an editorial published in the New York Times, Al Jazeera, and the Guardian. Right, it says the ACLU said the statute is particularly dangerous because it has no temporal or geographic limitations. So this indefinite detention clause has no geographic limitations. So they can, like I said before, they can, conduct their madness in all these different countries, right? Of which they've been doing, they've been doing that for all, for the longest, right? But now they just want to put it in paper to where it looks, less crazy. Right, but the fact of the matter is, man, if you really watch these news programs, right, and you learn how these, what certain lies you've been told about, and this so and so forth goes missing for a certain time, right? It's usually the government is involved with that, man, right? And it says in statutes, and the bill contains amendments introduced in the Senate and the House to remove the indefinite detention clause. The House The House included sections 1031 and through 1033, which affirms the rights of the habeas corpus and constitutional right to due process of American citizens. And says Senator Rand Paul, a leading opponent of the clause, pointed out that the bill this year contained the amendment, right? It says, and I suppose, which sharply limited the detention power and eliminated it entirely for American citizens in the U.S. Right now, this is this particular article was published. I wonder if it's going to say this was this was published at December the 5th, as you can see right there, and that's it's in 2012, right? But the video that we just watched right here, right? That was uploaded, which basically led me onto this document. So I watched the video first and led me onto the document. You can find this on I think he calls himself Storm Clouds Gathering, and he does some some good videos from time to time, right? Obviously you're gonna see everything everything that Esau says through the scriptures and all of that, but he does a few good videos as as pertaining to this this kingdom going down, finance, and so on and so forth, right? But this video was published on the 4th of July 2014, and basically going to show you that this man is going to come down with with great wrath, man. right? And he's gonna be like a madman. But pretty much with that, we're gonna say we're gonna sign out. We say double honest to the elders of GMS, honestly, brothers that be pushing this truth in society. And you can see, man, right? Not only is this man, kingdom going down, right? But as he goes down, he's gonna be troublesome times for Jake, man. Right? I would definitely say shalom.